Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2022 V8 Supercar Championship from Authentic Racing E-Series. My name is Olaf, and I'll be a commentator as we head on to the one-time endurance part of our calendar. 80 minutes, the Bathurst 1001 race, 80 minutes around this beautiful Australian circuit. It's going to be a good fight as the championship is quite close, so we're going to be looking in for a treat. In the commentary box is, of course, myself, Olaf, aka Wops Racing. But I'm also joined with Tom. Tom, welcome.
Hello. Thank you very much for having us.
And we're going to be looking at the screens that are going to be provided by Peter Cornelius, our race director, Mr. Man, who also deserves some love as well for organizing all of this and having us in here and being able to broadcast and commentate over this. Tom, gonna have a quick look at the standings. It's quite close at the top. What are we thinking for tonight?
Oh, there's a few fast people I've raced against here. From the looks of the standings, you'd say Ben and Tibo are the ones to beat. But from the practice session that we've seen a bit of today, I think Josh Cornelius and Ollie Hutton might be up there as well. So
yeah, looking at the standings, of course, like you said, Ben and Tibo are very, very far up. But if we look at the past race, we saw that Cornelius did get a win and a second place. I don't believe he's participated in every single round. So all of these points that he's gathered so far are from the recent rounds. So that means that he is a very fast driver, like you said, high up in the standings currently. The qualifying that we're going to be seeing in just a moment's time, and the rest of the victories are all being taken by the top three, of course. Important thing to note, it's going to be an 80-minute race, a little bit longer than we have had before, a little bit more time in a single race as it's considered an endurance event. We'll have 3 times the amount of points scored compared to the previous event. And what that means is that if you win, you don't get 100 points, you get 300 points. So in Cornelius' case, that would put him all the way up into P3 if the rest, of course, don't score. So it's going to be quite an adventure to see who else gets those points. Final 6 minutes of qualifying are currently going. Lots of drivers on their out laps. See 7 cars on the track, well, at least on the track and pit combined. Some drivers opting to go out right now. You see only Ben in the pits, and we get to do our final gamble. As a question, Tom, does Cornelius get that pole position? Because I don't think we can see the previous, or we can see the previous lap times. We've got more information that you know on the screen. Is he going to grab the pole position, or is anyone going to be able to participate and snatch that one away?
To be fair to Josh, he's got what's that, 8.5 tenths gap to Tibo. So that's a big slide from Ollie Hutton as he comes out that corner there on your screen. That's going to be a big gap. It's going to be a big it'll be quite hard for them to get that gap back, Tibo. But I think this has to be Josh Cornelius. We've only got 5 minutes. That's 2 laps if you're lucky to get that pole position.
Yeah, and he is on out lap, so that means he's going to be prepping the car. I might be sending it a little bit too hard here. Difficult track, of course. Bathurst, infamously known for the downhill section, as well as the uphill, the tight corners, followed by a very long piece of straight, and then another few corners after that. But that's all not very exciting. If you look at the standings combined with the current qualifying standings, I don't think that Cornelius can get anywhere near the top guys if they do finish within the points, and they probably should. Then it's the case, does Ben get a higher starting position than Geurten, because he's currently in 4th and Tibo is in 2nd place, and that gap in between those two is what I believe to be 1.5 seconds as well. So that's going to be one to watch. Cornelius now over the line, and that is start of his lap, I believe. And he will be doing a 2:13.5. That was his previous fast lap. We'll see what kind of lap time he can produce this time around. Ben went back into the pits, only 4 minutes remaining, so if he wants to do a lap time, he's got to go out now. So 2 more laps for Cornelius on his way around this track. Tom, undoubtedly you've seen this track. What are the points to watch for in terms of battles, overtakes, big sends, and just general action?
Well, we see one of the main overtaking opportunities just here as we come up this hill here, as we come down to this section. That's a really fast bit into this braking zone here. You can, if you're brave on the brakes, then you can get down the inside. As I've just seen, Josh Cornelius has set a purple Sector 1 for this lap.
So the man that went fast is only going faster. And here's he currently going through the skyline section, a part where I kind of want to see drivers go side by side, but also not too much. He's absolutely sending it over these curbs, getting close to the wall, as close as you want to possibly get. These cars, of course.
On board for these.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few onboards and they're quite scary. If you see the fastest guys out there absolutely going to the limits of whatever the cars can do around this track, it's absolutely scary. You're going to think you're going to be getting sent into the wall. And it's going to be real close to the walls here as well for Cornelius. Yellow Sector 2, so that's a bit slower than his previous lap. He's currently down on his time by about 3/10. That's all lost in that middle sector as he went purple on Sector 1. But he still has Sector 3 to go, so some time to make up for maybe in these final few corners. Like I said, big braking zone here in the chicane in Sector 3. And of course, this final corner, also quite a big braking zone. Turn 1 and Turn 2 is the same. Turn 2 is a bit of a mid-speed corner, but these cars don't really have too much aerodynamics on it, if I remember correctly. So that means that the slow speed, all the corners are basically going to be slow speed as Cornelius goes across the line as yellow in Sector 3. Don't think he did actually improve a tiny bit. It's now a 13.541, and I believe it was a 543 last time around. So that is really close to his previous lap. And a few drivers now out. Geurten now to yellow sector, so he does have one more lap to maybe try and do something. But Ben is in the pits, Luding in the pits as well. And Hutton, currently in third, is also still out, also yellow.
Yeah, I think Tibo's on a lap at the moment, but by my calculations, about 4/10 off of Josh's time. But the other one that is setting personal bests is Matt Reid.
So we are getting quicker laps, and of course the track gets rubbered in a little bit. Looking at a 1:30 p.m., but it's still quite dark. Everyone's got their lights on as it appears.
Tibo just went purple Sector 3 for that lap, and I said he wasn't going to improve, and he's now narrowed the gap down to just over a tenth of Josh Cornelius's lap time, who's now just gone purple again in Sector 1. So this pole position fight that I said was over, it appears to be that I'm talking rubbish, and it's very much on.
Well, the drivers that are in the pit now are not able to set a lap time. That's Tibo into the wall. That's his qualifying over for sure. So he's gonna miss out on that pole position fight, and it's only Baets currently in 7th that's able to maybe challenge a little bit. Cornelius again purple Sector 1, but then drops 6/10 in the middle sector. Must have made a mistake either on the uphill or the downhill, both very difficult places to be at. And Baets now in 7th has set a lap time that's not quite a good lap, so he's got one more to go as we have the orange and black Specsavers car going on through Sector 1. This is turn number 2. This is one place where it's also very popular to overtake. Like I said, mid-speed corner in these type of cars. You can see you go very slowly through there. So a bit of a slide towards the back there as well. Cornelius has taken away the lap, and that was a 2:15.7. So Geurten is now second place. That is locked in practically. But he's got one try to make this lap work. Running through that middle sector now. Still quite some time in that first sector. To compare it to Cornelius' time, that's a 1:53.2. And Baets a 1:56.2. So that's 3 seconds off already. So that means a 2:16 somewhere still achievable. That's a big slide though. That looked a little bit more unstable than we saw from Josh before. Our provisional pole sitter. And that is a lap that's going to be competing but not participating for the lead. So I think it's safe to say that our pole sitter here, Josh Cornelius, first place, will be starting this race from the front row.
As I say, it's an impressive lap time as well. That's a 13, whereas in practice they're all doing 14s, 15s, 16s. It's 2 minutes. And yeah, that's for them to have a tenth of a second gap between the top two. This is only going to lead us into a very, very close 80-minute race. Oh, that's an off. That's not going to be a valid lap. Noah's not going to get a valid lap, unfortunately. That's a shame for him.
And that will be last on the grid for the race. And like you said, close gaps between P1 and P2. And yeah, it's going to be quite close in the standings. We saw some close fights in the previous races on the results as well. Some drivers finishing within 2 or 3 seconds of each other. And also a race that I just watched back, that I got sent by the host. They said, please watch this a bit back. And I did, and it was 10 minutes of just close racing for the final 10 minutes of the race. So we're going to see some good stuff coming on. You might see Baets now in 9th place. He's going to be starting 7th as the S car. The safety car and the broadcast car are not going to be on the track. They'll be on the pits waiting. So we have 7 participating drivers, and Cornelius out in first at 13.541. And quite close to that is Tibo Geurten in the 55 car. They're going to be taking it away. Just a few more moments for this qualifying to end. Here we have the broadcast car. You can see the safety car as well on the right hand side of your screen. We're going to be waiting for this end of session to be over, and then we'll have an 80-minute race around Bathurst.
You're not going to miss that safety car, are you?
It's quite bright. I think if you run to the back of that one, it's you kind of deserve that penalty.
Yes. Talking of penalties, I've just been looking at the qualifying track limits, and there have been quite a fair few pings for track limits. And bearing in mind the drivers during the race, I think it's 3rd breach, and they get a 10-second time penalty. So yeah, they're going to need to pay attention to their track limits, given it's an 80-minute race.
And during these 80 minutes, you have to do 2 full pit stops, even though the game might say only 1 on the overlay, but we will have 2 pit stops mandatory. And those 10 seconds will be added to your pit stop time. You'll be stationary before your pit stop, and then you'll be released from your penalty. The team will start working, refueling, changing your tires, and then you're allowed to leave. So those 10 seconds, if you rack them up early, that can really displace you in terms of track position. So if someone like Cornelius gets that 10-second penalty way early on in the race, gets his first stop, might be dropped all the way back in traffic, and then he's going to have to work his way through. And track position is quite important. People don't usually get an overtake done in the up or the downhill. It's either sector 1 or sector 3 where you're able to get those laps in, get those moves in. And like I said, turn 1, turn 2 are your safe bets, and then you have the final chicane and the final turn as well. So it's all into quite a close space of time, space of track that you're able to overtake. So when you're done with the downhill, it's where you can start, and then you go back to the uphill. It's where you can stop looking. The qualifying is over. We'll be looking at the intro video once more, and we'll head on to the race. Right, so here we have our standings for the race prior to the start. The drivers are going to be lining up for the grid. Cornelius currently in 8th place. He's going to be starting way out in front. Geurten, currently second place on the standings. Also second place for the grid. It's going to be leading the number 3 on the grid as Ollie Hutton is currently also third in the standings. They are quite close in terms of points as well. Ben, first in the standings, is fourth in the grid. This is what we're looking at. Cornelius on the first place spot, number 56 car. We'll be taking away this group of cars onto the 80 minutes of Bathurst. The clock has just ticked down from 1 hour 21 minutes to 1 hour and 20 minutes. And that means the final countdown has started. We should see ourselves a little 5 lights or 6 lights. Keep forgetting which one of the two it is. Either 5 or 6 before we head on racing in about 30 to 40 seconds. I know it's a long race, Tom, but shall we do some predictions?
Oh, you put me on the spot. Of course you have. I couldn't pick one driver. I think Ben might do. Oh, Ollie. Ollie's going to win. There we go.
Ollie's going to win. All right, the final seconds before the 6 lines go on. We got one prediction for Ollie. I'm thinking that Josh is going to be absolutely able to take it away. Cornelius starting from pole position, start to finish, might just make it. 6 lights are on, engines are revved, and we are green at Bathurst. Both cars at the front of the line, taken away pretty well, I'd say. We do have a car on the inside, has an advantage always into the first turn, and that is going to be our pole sitter Cornelius, taking it away from the start completely and with ease. It looked like he was behind a tiny bit, but he did get it in the end. Does have a little bit of an offense on the right hand side. That is Geurten just screaming on through, able to get that. Ben able to get P3 off of Hutton as well. Just dropped back to 4th place. Some more shuffling a little bit further back. Small send there from Raid, who's got the inside line into that second turn, gets the position off of Luding. And your standings out of turn 2 are Geurten, Cornelius, Ben, Hutton, Baets, Raid, and Luding. That was a quite close one, I'd say, into turn 1. They're all snaking their way up on through. If it looks like they're going slowly, that is because these cars are simply a lot of power with very little aerodynamic capabilities. This is a very difficult section to control the cars, and it's almost going to be a fight here for second place as Ben has the inside line. Cornelius doesn't allow him to get a single spot there. Ben really looking for an opportunity, might have one in the 3rd sector, because like I said, this is very difficult to get an overtake done. But if you have the pressure on the car ahead, they might just make a mistake. Like you said, Cornelius a little bit too far, does keep it on the track though. Ben has to watch out because he's got Hutton right behind and the rest is all right there. Tibo pulling away a little bit through this section as he's the one all clear. Now Ben has to look behind because that does look to be Ollie. That's having a little look towards the inside and might just put some pressure on Ben. Going to sector 3, here it is. Quick on the straights are these cars. Cornelius dropping back like a stone and loses 2 positions in one straight line. That was Geurten just edging away on the screen there. And we see some fire coming out of the side of Ben's car. He's got a very fast Ollie, a little bit too deep on the brakes onto the grass and losing some position. It's going to drop him back 1, 2, and maybe even 3 as Cornelius Raid coming on through. Hutton gets overtaken by Baets and Luding as well. And there he is on the back and releases Ben from his worries. Currently 2nd place from 4th. That's a good start for our championship leader. He's got about 3-second gap ahead to Tibo. He's got to be able to make that one up, the 96 car. Just rounding out that first turn. First lap is done. And I think both of our predictions are just coming undone here. Ollie all the way in 7th, Cornelius now in 3rd.
Yeah, I wonder whether there's a little bit of strategy going on here, because obviously it's an 80-minute race. You're going to need probably 2 tanks of fuel, but you've got 2 pit stops. So I wonder, obviously these cars, when you add the huge amount of fuel they can carry, well, there's a bit of a tank slapper there. I think that was from Ollie Hutton in the background. But I wonder whether Tibo has decided to use a lower fuel load this opening stint in order to try and build himself a gap. Whereas potentially Josh Cornelius, who is showing to me is in the pits. He is in the pits.
He has returned to the pit lane. I'm sure if that has anything to do.
Yeah, he did clip the wall twice.
Yeah, there have been some contacts with the wall. I saw Baets as well with the wall a few times. Cornelius has been released now. Maybe he has actually underfueled the car, which would be very weird because he was away quite slowly on the straight. That's quite crazy. That looks to be Baets backwards on the downhill. Gets overtaken. It's going to be a trouble to get his car straight. Hits the wall once more on the rear. That's going to be quite a big amount of damage. Luding and Hutton going on through. That is Baets backwards on a place where you don't want to be backwards. It's very small, very tight to make your way on through. And there he goes. Free from the wall, but also free from the pack. It's about 20 seconds it has to make up for. It's got quite a bit of damage on the front of the car. Of course, going to impact some of the aerodynamic performance. I was going to say which aerodynamic performance. That's Luding. A bit wide there on entry. Goes off the grass. And this one's going to be very difficult. And he does hit Ollie Hutton in the rear. Also spins off the track. And now has to get back. Both of these drivers off the track now. Trying to sneak their way back on. The first next car is Baets. About 10 seconds back. So they will have the space for it. But that is an unfortunate hit. I saw it coming. I saw Luding get off the track onto the sand and sliding. And I knew he wasn't going to be able to stop. I was just hoping that Hutton saw him second place side from fourth. He was a good start for a championship leader. It's got about 3 second gap ahead. Take avoiding Tibo action. Worries. Currently second place. Side. We're trying to get a replay here from what happened. Hutton still going on, not into the pits, so it appears that the damage isn't as significant as it might have looked. This does clear Ben and Raid now currently in second and third. Good to maybe gain a little bit of time on Tibo, who's held the lead quite well. And coming from second place, almost had the run into turn one, then got it on the straight. Big slipstream, of course, chunky cars. They open up a lot of space behind them. And Ben, similar pace now to Tibo ahead. As we some more contact. Looks like Baets is going into the pit lane, and Cornelius, the 3:30 for his second lap. He's not going to be very happy with this one.
I think that might be a retirement for Noah because he hit the wall up the top of the mountain and jumped back to the pits. So it's a shame to see if he has, but we'll see if it's just damage or whether he's just got a time penalty because he jumped back to the pits. We'll have to see. But purple sectors coming in from Tibo, so he's properly flying, and he's doing 2:15s as well. So that's only a second or two from the qualifying.
I should say that it goes a little bit deep in that final chicane. Does recover nicely though, and has indeed taken away another second away from Ben. It's just filling up the background there, as you can see beneath the arc of the sponsors. And Tibo, purple lap here. It's going to be a 2-minute 15.485. Ben's previous lap to 17.135. So that's almost 2 seconds that he's got over his competitors. And it might just be a fuel load, like you said, a lower fuel load for this first stint. So there's 2 mandatory pit stops. You have to go into the pits and change your fuel and or tires 2 times during this event. And one of those has already been completed by Cornelius and also Baets, like you said. That is a DNF for Baets, who is just stuck in the pit and won't be returning to the race. That's only 6 competing drivers left for this event. Cornelius has had that 1 pit stop already, so we're gonna have to wait and see until the strategy part of the race for the leaders. Tibo now quite clear. Ben getting a personal best. Hutton putting up a session best in the middle sector, currently running at 2:15.525 on his previous lap time. Not a valid lap, unfortunately, but he does go and put in quite a few fast sector times. And he's currently trying to match the pace with the guys out ahead. He's got about 12 seconds to third place. That's the one that he's looking to catch right about now. And Luding now 1 minute and 10 seconds behind the lead. Cornelius 1 minute and 19 seconds behind the lead. So we're just waiting for everyone to maybe bunch up a little bit more, because the action has already gone off. It's 1 hour and 10 minutes remaining. Surely for the drivers this is going to be a grueling task. It's a very difficult track, very intense, especially that downhill section. You have to be perfect on your brakes. If you're too early, the car balance can get a little bit unsettled, because your, of course, muscle memory can kick in. You can do some funky things with the car. Do it too late, you'll hit the wall. Get a little bit too close to the wall, make contact, and then the race is practically over. We saw with Baets, who hit the wall on the downhill, got sideways, ended up getting that DNF that did not finish to his name. It's quite difficult to keep that intensity of focus, as Hutton just puts in the fastest lap of the race, the 2:15.315.
Although Tibo's slightly faster, I think, though. 2:14.4, I think. So it might be his fastest.
It might just be his personal fastest. Yeah, it looked purple, so I thought it was going to be a session best, but it is indeed a personal best, all taken off of that final sector. 2:15.3. A lap by Tibo at 2:14.4. It's very deep there.
Yeah, he's controlling the car mainly, well, steering the car mainly by the rear wheels through that section, and again through there, which is quite impressive car control to see. So yeah, this is a very tricky section, as you say. It's obviously with 80 minutes, it's mainly keeping your head level and trying to keep it out of the wall. And I see there might be some front bumper damage on that car. Oh, there is again, and there's Ollie.
That's a bit more than front bumper damage. That's going to be side damage, and even more. He's wiggling his way back. Of course, this is a place where you've got a little bit more room. But Cornelius will be closing in on him. Yeah, not to worry though. Cornelius just finished up sector 1.485. Ben's previous lap to 17.135. So that's almost 2 seconds at 15.485. Ben's previous lap
on
to
the hill.
17.135.
Prediction's sake that Ollie doesn't retire.
Almost 2 seconds
in this race.
15.485. Ben's previous lap to 17.135.
Currently still holding him fourth.
Almost 2 seconds at 15.485.
Similar
Ben's previous lap to 17.135. His personal best. As a raid, currently in third, has done a 2:18.4, so he's a little bit slower than the guys behind. That's about 3 seconds a lap. It's got about 25 seconds to Hutton, so it's going to be 7 or 8 laps to go before that gets close to anything. As these laps are about 2.5 minutes time, that means we're going to be sat here for quite a little bit before we can see some more action. As Ben is getting the short end of the lap times. Last lap, about 2 seconds off of Tibo out in first, which is able to pull it away.
Don't forget, it's all about consistency with this being an endurance race. We've got Tibo running away with it at the moment, obviously in just under 9-second gap. It's all about keeping that damage off, and I say about consistency. Tibo's just done 2 purple sectors on the last lap, and then he's just got them purple in sector 1 yet again, so he's going quicker and quicker with every lap he's setting. But to be honest, having a look down at the times, I think everyone else has near enough done the same, obviously with the exception of Ollie, who decided to explore some of the scenery at the same time. But they're all setting faster laps, probably down to the fuel load and the tyres coming in a bit better, as Ollie is now in the pits.
Yeah, if you're going this fast around the track, you usually don't get that too much time to look around. Ollie probably wanted to take a little 360 and admire the scenery. As he just gets overtaken by Luding, who has gone past, and he's now down in 6th place. As a quick reminder on the amount of points that you can score, currently 6th place would give you 204 points. Unsure if they'll be handed to Baets, as he's only completed a few laps before ultimately getting that DNF to his name. So he might not have those points in the end, but Hutton now going out of the pits and getting back on with it. Did have some good laps to his name. The fastest at 2:15.3. That is on pace for second place. And like you said, it's all about consistency. You have to keep this going towards the end. It's going to be 66 more minutes. And Ollie basically has one pit under his belt now, whereas the rest of the grid still needs 2 more. Cornelius has already had his. It shows that Luding has had 2 pits already, which I'm not sure if we caught that already or not. So I don't think he has gone into the box. I haven't seen him go in. But Cornelius has done 1 stop. He's currently 1 minute 20 behind the front guys. So it might just close down and get a little bit more competitive once we have our first set of stops done.
Yeah, according to the server race control bits I can see, doesn't look like Max Luding has done any pit stops. So the only people that have done pit stops, or valid pit stops at least, or that we've been notified of, are Josh Cornelius and Ollie Hutton, as you've just seen. So,
no, Hutton having a tough time on the downhill once more. Small little tap to the side, but just as an update, Tibo has also had a few hits as he's currently going onto the downhill section as well. They might have just been on the right-hand side, as Raid has had a tap as well. But all these cars quite beaten down already. It's also a question of, are you going to drive with this damage, or are you going to repair it in the pits? Because you can, of course, like Tibo is doing right now, he's probably got some dents on his car, hasn't gone in yet. Same for Ben and Raid as well. They must have some damage at some point from the downhill, but they can continue driving with it. And then once you stop, are you going to repair that damage and take a bit more time? If you're Tibo, you have the time to do so, but you might also just choose to not repair it if it's not that changing to the balance of the car. But I can imagine if you had a big shunt like Ollie had, you might want to go in instantly like he did and get that repaired.
Well, absolutely. So Ollie's pit stop was 88 seconds compared to Josh's, which was 49. Now, we did see Josh get a little bit roughed up on the opening lap, but if you use the theory that he was running quali fuel or whatever, or low fuel at the start, then it would make sense for him just to have changed tyres potentially and filled up the tank, which is those 49 seconds. But Ollie Hutton, I would assume, or take an educated guess, that was a damage repair, given the big hit we saw him. Oh,
that's Cornelius Josh. The wall.
Yeah.
He's had a little tap with the curb there on the inside, and that's of course not an upstanding curb. That is a dip curb, and that's one that your car can easily bounce off of the edge of it. So once you get into the dip, you bounce off towards the edge, towards the end, get back onto the track, upset the balance of the car, go absolutely flying into the wall. Wasn't a big shunt though, just a small little tap. Hopefully it doesn't upset the car too much. It does go very wide at places, so he is pushing a little bit. Previous lap was his fastest, 2:14.741. That's basically on pace with what Tibo is doing out in front. And if the pit stops are taking 49 seconds, we might have some good battle towards the end. That's Tibo, who's had a shunt on his way to the downhill. So Ben has now overtaken Tibo for first place, and that car must be dinged up out in the front. That was appeared to be a big shunt if you're sideways like that, not even on the downhill. And Ben taking the lead, no turn in from this car. It's absolutely ridiculous how horrible that looks to drive. He might just stay out, but he might also, like Ollie, go into the pits and get his repairs done, and maybe he'll go out and fight with Cornelius.
As I was saying earlier, it's all about consistency. And look at that. Ben's been consistently setting relatively decent lap times. He's only, fastest lap is, near enough a second slower than Tibo, but Tibo's made that mistake, and now there's a 13.5 second gap in the other direction. So, yeah, well played from Ben. As I say, it's all about that consistency. Tibo unfortunately had that incident. Will he pit, as you say, or or will he continue and try and get back in that rhythm? It's very hard, I can tell you now, to get back in that rhythm once you've had an incident like that, but it does look like he is staying out.
So yes, he's going to try and live with his damage. Maybe go one more lap to see how it feels on the up and the downhill. Of course, these corners very telling of how the car feels. You always have the difficult sections where you have to really check and see, am I fast on the sections where I need to be fast, or can I drive safely? It's also a question. Raid is quite close behind him though, currently in 3rd place. About 4 seconds is the gap, and if Tibo does have the damage that he needs to repair, that's and more time in the pits and a slower lap time overall. Raid's fastest is currently 2:18.0, and like you said, Ben has been doing consistently 1 second slower lap times, but Matt has been doing 3 seconds slower lap times, and he is chasing down Tibo at the moment. So it doesn't matter what lap times you do ultimately. It's about the consistency. And 80 minutes, we have 20 minutes down, 1 hour to go. That's 60 minutes for them to showcase how consistent they can be. And let's just hope that they also get this message that we are getting right now, that consistency is way more important than going fast, because going fast might just be a little bit more risky. As Matt makes his way through, leaves a lot of space on all sides of his car. So he is pushing, but not to the absolute limits. He's doing whatever he can to stay safe on the Australian mountains. Does take the curb on the downside though. That's where it's important to maximize your car's potential. He's doing this quite nicely. Currently looking, he's got 5 seconds up ahead. So the gap is increasing, which means that Tibo has got the pace, even though that damage was quite, looked to be quite a significant hit from the looks of it. Didn't see the exact speed at which he did hit the wall, but it must have been a big one if he was sideways on top of the hill. We do have Cornelius. If we look at Tibo, it's about, whoa, that's a small wall tap as well. If we keep getting these hits towards the side, and everyone's car must be dinged up by now. I'm pretty sure they're all going to go for repairs. Yeah,
so I can tell you Tibo's collision with the wall was 102 kilometers an hour. So it wasn't a small one.
Yeah, that's quite a big hit. You want to probably repair that one as soon as you possibly can, but maybe Tibo wants to stay out, and he is staying out. As he's currently going through turn number 1. He is staying out, and he's going to be driving this damaged vehicle. That's over 100 kilometers an hour. That's surely not a very, very clean car. His front bumper must have taken a massive hit, but apparently not enough for him to go into the pits.
Yeah, so looking back at the history, I can see when Ollie had his incident, he had a collision at 75 kilometers an hour, and then a few seconds later he had one at 124 kilometers an hour. So, and that made him go in the pits. So he must be near enough for Tibo to think about going in the pits. But I suppose we're still in that kind of grey area. If you were thinking about pit strategy as to when you actually want to pit, if he pits now, if you look at 50 seconds, he's going to be back, well, towards the rear of the grid now. So it's, he'll be definitely behind Josh and probably just around Max Luding. So yeah, he needs to have a think about that.
And one thing to also note, because like we saw in on the first lap, we saw very, very different strengths of each car. It's only there's a little bit of Tony Hawk pro skating on that final curb. One thing we do need to keep in mind is the top speed of the cars, and these drivers are all driving in V8 supercars, of course. We have Ben, Max, and Ollie in the Holden Commodore. Tibo, Matt, and Josh in the Ford Mustangs. One thing to take a look at is the top speed. There's quite noticeable difference between some of these drivers, not necessarily leaning towards one car over the other, but Ben has a top speed of almost 290 kilometers an hour, Tibo at 291, but Matt's top speed is 278. Cornelius 281. And Luding at 271, but Ollie Hutton at 291. So these are all very different lap time, very different top speeds for the same cars. As Cornelius takes the forced elbow a little bit too wide there. Small tap with the wall as well. Must have some more damage. Currently weaving a little bit. Might just be mad at the tires or mad at himself for getting that incident there. But it does look like the top speeds are vastly different, ranging from 270 to 291. That's not something that you like to see when you're Ollie, when you're Matt. And Matt's currently at 270, and Tibo at 291. You must think what the difference is in terms of setup as well.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, really. Have that 20 kilometre an hour difference, especially given how long the straights are. That's really going to hurt in your lap time. But it could just be down to braking earlier. It could be down to anything. It could be down to fuel load, as we've mentioned a few times now. But it's it's definitely a concern. But not really much they can do about it. They can't change the setup during the course of the race. If they've got brake bias adjustments on their steering wheel, perhaps that's as much as they go. During the pit stops, they can repair the damage, they can refuel the car, or change the tyres. But other than that, there's not much they can do about the top speed.
And if you do relate the top speed to their lap times, it is an interesting one, because the fastest lap from Luding is a 2:17.3. From Raid, it's a 2:18.0. Those are the guys that are below 280 kilometers an hour, and everyone above 280 kilometers an hour are doing 2-minute 15s, 14s, 14s, 14s. So I do think, looking at the lap times and the top speed, it might just be that aerodynamic difference, the setup difference, especially because, like you said, this track's got very long straights. That's of course going to be, the choosing of the setup. Some drivers opting for a low aerodynamic set, which makes it a little bit more difficult to manage through the up and the downhill, and a little bit easier on the straights.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Tibo's in the pits there, so he has gambled, or whether this is his scheduled stop. We don't know, but he's in the pits and he's been there for a few seconds now. So is Josh Cornelius, who's the first of the people to have actually done a pit stop. He's the next person coming around the 2 or 3 corners behind him at the moment, so he is going to come out ahead still, which I suppose Josh isn't going to be too happy about that, but it's crossing the white line there. I don't know if that's a ruling infraction.
It might just be fine. No one was close, and Cornelius, like you said, the first one to come through, and he's currently closing off his lap to 16.1. And this might just be a scheduled pit stop, because we've had about 25 minutes, about 50 to go. So that does sound like 1/3 of the race is over. So this might just be a normal scheduled pit stop, and Tibo taking his advantage. That's 11 laps in for his first stop, and Cornelius has done his stop about 10 laps ago. So he's going to have to go a little while longer, and maybe this is going to be a long stint of his. But yeah, Tibo, first stop done. Currently 47 seconds behind Ben. Unsure how much time he lost there with the pits.
54 seconds he was in the pit lane, which is 5 seconds slower than Cornelius here.
Yeah, and there was a big gap to Tibo already from the start. Tibo, of course, getting a good run and pulling away about 5 to 10 seconds before Cornelius went to the pits on that first lap. A little small tap to the right-hand side of the wall there. Want some more? And of course, the time that you spend in the pit is not always the same, because you do cover a little bit of ground, as Ben is also in for his stop. So Raid 25 seconds behind, might choose to do the same, and he is currently staying out. Going through that final corner, we can see him approach right about now. There he is, going to be taking away that lead. It's Ben. He'll be the second one to stop from the drivers that on there. Well, I would call this a scheduled stop. This is about 1/3 of the race. You need about 2 stops for this race. Tibo now on the back of the screen as well, joining in, and Ben quite clear of his competitor, the 55 car, currently crossing the line, just over it. And previous lap was a 48.6. That's of course all to do with the fact that he has just gone out of the pits. And Cornelius is back in as well, so he's going to do another stop.
I wonder whether this is a real penalty thing. Is it going to be track limits, or is this going to be his scheduled stop? It's a bit early for another scheduled stop from him, bearing in mind he stopped not too long ago, but we'll see. It was a 62-second stop from BennRS, so he lost basically 8 seconds to Tibo in that pit stop.
And there's only about 10 seconds in between them now. With Tibo having the advantage on lap time, as Luding also goes in, and that does look like a very damaged front bumper. This appears to be losing a fender. It's going to be a problem to attach that one back if it's all the way up in the hill. But Luding now into the pits, and does look like Cornelius is released already, and he's got Hutton right behind him, currently going through turn number 1. So they're going to have a little battle, hopefully, if this is going to be close enough. Another 7 or 8 seconds between the two. And if Tibo can get the lap times in, we did say that Ben was our consistency man, that Tibo was our speed man. So if this does stay the same and Tibo can keep it on the track, he will eventually have a battle as Max gets out of the pit lane, back onto the track, and currently holding 6th place. Everyone has stopped beside Matt, currently in 1st place. Looks to be leading, but in the end isn't. I was thinking that maybe Cornelius had a fuel limiting problem, where he's just not able to take enough fuel on board to go all the way and make the stint last a little bit longer. But Matt is still out there. He's in the same car, and as I say that, he has gone in. So Matt currently into the pits, and everyone will have done their 1 mandatory stop. Cornelius has done his 2 mandatory stops. Maybe that is the reason why. Maybe Josh wants to go in, get his stops out of the way, and just continue racing all the way into the end, which is quite risky. So if he does hit the wall during these next few laps, he's going to have to drive with that all the way through. So it's better to just save up your pit stops for later, and then have some insurance, basically. So if you do hit the wall, you know that you can still get into the pits, get into the box, get your damage repaired, and go back out. As man opted to go for a backwards exit, now going back out from the front ahead of Cornelius, who's currently in that final sector of the chicane, currently making his way through the left and right hander. There he is, and Matt out in 3rd place, about 30 seconds away from the lead, 25 seconds away from 2nd place, about half a minute away from Josh as well. So quite a clear space that he has all the way around him.
That's a 65 seconds pit stop there from Matt Raid. So he has lost a little bit of time to the 2 that he was racing ahead of him. But Josh again lost a few seconds to Tibo in that pit stop as well. But he's still got everyone else apart from Josh, as you say, has still got another pit stop to do anyway. But I would be surprised, to be honest, if he's going to last 50 odd minutes. We're now just past the 48-minute mark on that tank of fuel. But I've not done many laps around here in these cars, but I would be surprised at that fact, especially if you count in damage as well.
I mean, I think you're going to be the expert on this aspect, because I've done about 0 laps in these cars on this track. I've done this track quite a few times in GT3s and GT4s, but never in V8 supercars. So these are going to be quite a different beast to handle. Like you said, some of these drivers taking a choice. Ooh, big lock up there from Cornelius as he hits the inside curb on the downhill. It's of course a mistake if you just get a little bit too little grip going on the downhill, maybe a bit too fast. You can't make the turn because it's of course a downhill. It's always going to be difficult to get the proper amount of grip.
Yeah, bearing in mind they've all just done pit stops and they've all just more than likely put in a whole load of fuel, which obviously is a whole load of weight. So they've been driving quite light cars, or relatively light cars, as you can get for a V8 supercar. But yeah, a really light car for the last few laps, and then all of a sudden you stick in a whole load of weight. They need to then move their braking point back a bit, move their turn-in point earlier as well in some occasions, in order to try and avoid hitting those walls. So that's why we are seeing a flurry of pings on our server here of collisions or running wides with the barrier nearly.
Now, speaking of collisions, I did get a little pop-up of Tibo getting an absolute smacker into the wall, about 60 kilometers an hour in the start of that second sector. So you might be losing a little bit of time currently in the mountain section. We'll have a few moments more to before we get to see that sector time. But this is the man that needs to do those fast lap times in order to catch Ben. Maybe he's putting in those lap times, but he's losing out on it as well. The gap was about 8 seconds, I believe. It's currently 11.5. So Ben is pulling away. And here it is, the second sector, about to come to a close. And Tibo is just about a second, just a few tenths off of Ben's time. So didn't lose too much time, about 2 seconds compared to his personal best. But like you said, cold tires out of the pit stop. It's going to be one to warm up over a few laps. You got to be careful. And just like this downhill, it's if you go up a hill, you get pushed into the track, so you get a lot more grip on the car. But when the track falls away from you, you don't have that amount of grip. So you have to be very careful. Brake on the straight. Another lock up there in the same spot for Cornelius. It keeps locking up the tires. It looks like there's just smoke coming off of it all the time, as one flat spot can generate more. Hutton as well on the same curb. It's a very difficult section here, as he's trying to chase down Cornelius ahead of him. The previous lap lost about a second. He's got some work to do. This time around also losing a bit of time. Once more, Luding currently 6th again as well. So it's very difficult around here to get there, to get the cars into the proper positions. And
as you can see,
sorry, go ahead.
the cars are very stiff, as you can see. So when they turn in, for example, that left-hander there, you can see the front left actually lifting up off the ground. So if he's trail braking into that, that's what's just catching the front wheel. So it's not really a lock-up, but it's just a slightly unweighted wheel that, to be honest, you normally see with a stiff front wheel drive like a classic Mini or a Renault Clio, for example. You'd see the rear wheel lifting up, but these cars are so stiff. Oh, that's a time penalty on the screen there for Josh Cornelius.
That's not even. Oh, that's for cutting. That might just be track limits, or just cutting in general. He did just cross turn 1. Unsure if you can cut there properly, but you can definitely wash out wide there on the exit. So that's going to be a 10-second penalty added to his next pit stop, and he has already completed 2 of his pit stops. So that means that he's going to have to do another one.
Yeah,
in order to serve that time penalty.
You'll be added onto his last time, I think, into his race time. I think.
If he doesn't serve it, it will be added to the time. Yeah, of course. Completely forgot about that possibility as well. I always see penalties and I'm like, well, time to go into the pits. But that's our first penalty for track limits, and we're almost halfway through, so that's quite impressive actually. But also not, because if you look at the track realistically, where are you going to go off the limits? It's only going to be turn 1 realistically where you get onto the exit, and after that it's all filled with walls. If you do go off the track, you get damage.
Yeah. So, well, bear in mind that's 3 cuts he must have done then. So that's 3 cuts in half a race. I mean, that's pretty good going. Bearing in mind, during qualifying, there was quite a few laps being deleted for track limits, and by the looks of it, it was turn 1 that he cut. Judging by the fact both his sector 1 and sector 2 are marked as invalid lap times. So that is a bit of a shame, but still a lot for the race to go. You can still gain that 10 seconds back.
And especially if you're Josh, our pole sitter, so the man that is apparently over a 1 lap pace, the fastest man of these 6 currently still running. And he has some time to gain, currently a minute behind Ben. But He has done 2 stops, and he's ahead of Ollie, who's of course had that big shunt in the on the middle of the track. And even though he has a track cut, his last lap was actually the fastest, even though it was invalid on the previous time around. He did do a 2-minute 14.051. That's within a second of his qualifying lap, and that is quite quick. It's just very unfortunate that he had to cut in the first sector. Another lockup there. Tibo as well, taking the curb on the inside there on the downhill. It seems to be very difficult as he's sliding more and more, trying to control the car.
It's easy to set fast lap times when you're not doing the same lap as everyone else. So if you are cutting the corner, then if you're getting a track limits ping, you could be cutting a whole corner, which obviously will gain you a lot of time. So
that doesn't look like he gained too much. If you compare the current sector that he has, it was at 54.1. Is about similar to the previous one as well. So he might have just done sector 2 and 3 extremely quickly, but it's just an invalid lap, and they just don't count simply because he had that off-track excursion on the start of his lap. Tibo now on his way to chase down Ben, who has done a 2:15.78. Tibo on the previous lap at 2:15.70. Crossing the line now, it's a 2-minute 16, so he is losing time. And Ben, the man that we first saw to be very stable, very consistent, is now pulling in quick lap times as well as staying consistent. So he's out there, out in front, clearing the gap behind, making sure that goes faster, bigger and bigger as we're approaching the halfway mark. 40 minutes exactly is when we have our halfway. That's right now. And this is the standings after 40 minutes of racing. We get to do 40 minutes more of this beautiful track. As you might have noticed, it's going to get a little bit darker and darker out there. The conditions might just cool down a little bit as we get less sun. That's going to be annoying for the drivers, especially if they have to heat up their tires. If they have to do one more pit stop, they'll get clean tires, new tires, but they'll be cold. And heating them up in colder temperatures is always going to be a bit more difficult compared to the already used tires and some higher temperatures. So right now, on his way up the hill, he's got 18 seconds behind him. As Josh will be going up the hill right behind him. And that is for a podium position, a provisional podium, as we're still halfway through. So all of these cars look to be a little bit damaged here and there, some small taps to the walls, and luckily not with each other. We didn't see too many big incidents. We saw one, so the stewards are going to have an easy time to just get 1 or 2 incidents out of the way. And the rest are all incidents between cars and the wall. We always know that the car is at fault there, so no need to give a penalty. As the wall is also not competing, that would be a difficult one. As Cornelius, one more tap to the wall, as he already has a quite damaged car, doesn't want to get it too damaged anymore. As everyone seems to be pushing quite hard. As Cornelius has set a personal best sector 1, so that cut towards the end of the start of the previous lap might have just been an incentive for him to work even harder and get a green sector 1. He's treading the hills now. Gets a yellow sector 2. We'll have to see if he can make it up in sector 3 and get that new fastest lap on the board. Which actually has on the previous lap already a 2:15.715. To 14.715. Currently approaching that final corner. This is Matt, who's slightly ahead of him, and this is Josh on that final corner. Lost a bit of time in that final sector. Car maybe not up to balance. It's a 2:15.134, so that is not the lap time that he wants to see. But Matt ahead did a 2:18.3, so 3 seconds that he got out of there, from 18 seconds to about 15-14 seconds now. So he's slowly gaining. If it's 3 seconds per lap, we're going to have 5 more laps to go. So in about 15 minutes time, we'll have us a battle on our hands for P3.
It looks like the gap first to second came out again, didn't it, last lap? So, the fastest person last time round was actually Josh, as you say. Gap seems to be extending all the way around. So,
And Ben's not too far off though. It's only a few tenths, and Ollie seems to be in the pit now. That's his second stop of the race, which means that he gets to be cleared for the rest of the race, as Max Luding has gone past, currently on his way to turn number 2, and Ollie being released and back out on the track.
Yeah, and interestingly, that is the fastest pit stop as well, 44.5 seconds by the looks of it. Oh no, 59 seconds it's now come up as. So, no, it's not the fastest lap time. It was 44, as it said, now it's 59-second pit stop.
And as this was happening, Josh put in the purple sector 1, as Ben showed to be in the pits for a moment, but apparently as a small visual glitch on our end. Personal best sector 1 and personal best sector 2 for Josh, as he's absolutely sending it. And that's already going past the downhill. So he's gone past the difficult part, and he's had some issues with sector 3 before as well. But it looks like this could be just the new fastest lap, and he's chasing down Matt like crazy. The gap's now about 12 seconds, 13 seconds. So Matt has put in his personal best. To 16.8, trying to outrun Josh, who's currently going to go across the line. And the lap time he's just put in is a 2:14.012. An absolute banger of a lap. He's now 2 tenths faster than Tibo's fastest lap, which was a while ago. And Josh is now chasing down the man ahead. It's about 3 seconds gained once more. So Matt put in a very fast lap time for him. And Josh just outdid himself. It's the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, that fastest lap of the race gets 5 points usually. I don't know whether that's tripled. I don't know whether our broadcast director here, Mr. Peter Cornelius, can clarify whether that's tripled or not. Bear in mind all the other points are tripled. So it'll be 5 points at least going towards Josh, which obviously helps him out, judging as he's sitting 8th in the standings at the moment. So.
Just when you said that, our race director Peter might be able to clarify. I just imagined him writing down in paint across the screen yes or no, but I feel like it should be it's a fun thing to imagine. It should be tripled as well, as the point scoring is all tripled, as it's an endurance race. It's all more challenging to focus to have, and also getting the fastest lap is more challenging because everyone just gets more tries to get the fastest lap. There's more attempts at getting that fastest lap, and of course also more sacrifices if you do try and attempt to get some good fastest laps. Raiders had some issues though on this one, about 6 seconds lost compared to his personal best, and Josh about 1.5 seconds as well. So all in all, should be about 8 seconds gained on this lap, and there you have it. About 5 seconds is our current gap. We should be able to see. There he is. That's Matt just disappearing from the screen. And Josh getting quite close. So we might have a battle on our hands in about 2 laps time. So about 5 minutes, and then we'll see Josh and Matt battle it out on the track. See if that 3-second pace difference is going to be worth something on a 1v1.
And Peter has confirmed. Thank you, Peter. It is 15 points for the fastest lap as well. So you would like that podium. He probably thinks more of that podium than he does the 15 points for fastest lap. But it's bragging rights nonetheless.
And hopefully everyone will be looking at just points, because the difference between P1 and P2 is 24 points, which is a little bit more than fastest lap can give you. The difference between P3 and P4, however, is only 18 points. So you might just settle. That's still more. My math is not mathing anymore. It's quite late in the evening. That's more points. So you kind of do want to get P3 over the fastest lap. But if you can get both, of course, it's going to be even better. Josh so far has got the fastest lap. The gap between them not too far. It's about 4 seconds still. Josh is looking for something.
Yeah, but Matt's definitely going to want to keep that because he's only had a podium. He's only had one podium. That was a third, and that was 2 events ago at the Bend. So, yeah. Whereas Josh has won a race, he's come second in another one, by the looks of it. So he's had 2 podiums that I know of. So he's wanted to get a third to his tally, whereas Matt's wanted to get his second. Everyone aiming for that top 3 either way.
And it did look like Josh got his podium, his victory and his second place in the same weekend. So he's had his victory and his second place in 2 races, one after the other, because the usual format was 40 minutes a race into another 40 minutes race, and of course now it's 80 minutes, so more effort putting in. Matt, like you said, won 3rd place to his name, wanted to double his podium positions. But Josh, a regular podium for him, of course, if he's only done 1 race, from the looks of it, wants to get another podium to his name. That 3rd place is looking kind of juicy. Matt's last lap time, as you can see, at 2:17.9. Cornelius at 2:16.2. That's another 1.5 seconds cut out of the gap, as the gap is now just around 3 seconds. And Ben's previous lap, 2:16.6. And Tibo's at 2:16.4. But Josh, quite far down. Madhouse currently not racing. It's the position above him. Will, of course, get that position away from him. Max currently in 5th place. The gap between those two, between Josh and Max in the standings, is about 50 points. So Cornelius will not overtake Max as it stands. So that's going to be math for after the race. We're not going to bother with that one too much. I'm looking at the numbers, and I just said my math ain't mathing anymore, and then I started to math some more. As Ollie just put in a purple sector 3, which presented 2:14.3. I think that's what your exclamation was for.
Yes, yes, that's very good. Yeah, fastest of anyone in sector 3. That's very impressive.
And he's joined the ranks of Tibo and Josh in getting into the 2-minute 14s. It's a 14.3 as opposed to Tibo's 14.2. It's only half a tenth in between those 2 fastest laps. So Ollie is on absolute raid to try and catch his competitor, and that's Max Luding, currently about 7 seconds ahead. As Josh is now closing the gap, 2.2 seconds to his. So that's going to be an interesting one. Do remember that Josh has that 10-second time penalty to his name that he still has to serve. So he needs to overtake Matt and then get a 10-second gap before the end of the race, or else that is going to be a position lost. But then again, Matt still has to do a pit stop, and Cornelius has done his 2 stops already. So the top 3 still needing that stop, and I do believe that we need Max into the pits as well once more from memory.
Ben needs to go, and Ben.
Yeah, the top 3 and the Max.
All right. Yes. Yeah.
I believe still have to go into this. Also, Josh and Ollie having done their 2 stops already. If my memory serves me right.
Yes. I've written them all down because I knew I'd forget.
There we go. Yeah, I have the numbers here, but I feel like I said, Max's numbers were a little bit fudged in the telemetry. It said 2 at the start of the race, even though it's impossible to have 2 stops done before he even started the race. The gap now